but sometimes mixing process can be a miracle for your production. That happens in our case. The track we have here is completely unmixed without any effects applied.
King, rapping like Reese in the pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the lead. When I'm hitting with a bill, I'm independent. When I'm in it, gotta finish out the minutes. Who the hell my competition? Started with a vision and the people wanna listen. But I came when it was dead and the game has risen. Mental whip, don't hit a pit, rap, hit, full pit, stop. Number one pick, don't play game is official.
Alright, so I think there's no point of listening more to it. Let's get into the mixing. So what will be our tier? You probably know it already if you took our beginner's course, but let's recap it. First and foremost, again, the volume. Volume, I will always repeat, is the reason to everything. Volume is music. So if you got the volume balance between instruments right, your mix is halfway done. First thing we'll do, the volume balance. After that, in the tier comes the EQing. That's where we'll be making the space for all individual instruments in the mix spectrum. After that, in the tier comes the compression and sidechain counting in it. That is about the dynamics and making sure that nothing is too peaky in the mix spectrum in order to keep the hierarchy in your song. After that come the wet effects, that means reverb, delay, etc. And also the last thing in the tier, but very important, to make it stand out from the crowd, is panning, plus mono and stereo. There are two kinds of mixing. First is the usual mixing, and the second is the creative mixing. It's not a trademark or something, but it's really easy to understand it that way. Usual or normal common mixing will do to make the track sound great. All elements together, pumping, full and well sounding. Creative though will be about augmenting the track with some reverb throws, for example, or augmenting the rapper's vocal with some other instruments or effects. That's when your creative mind will need to come to the work, but we'll come to it after that. So let's play the drop and see what's up in the mixer channel. If you see this, that's already a really bad sign. You can see that the master channel is getting into the red part, and that means if we would export the track, it would be completely distorted and destroyed after the export. FL Studio developers fixed that by putting the limiter in the last slot of the master channel, but that's something you should never ever do. Never put a limiter in your master channel when producing. Of course, when mastering, it is a different case. How to deal that it doesn't peak though? We can take it down technically, we can do it. There is no problem if individual tracks are clipping, unless it's not clipping on the master. Technically we can do it, and that's what I usually do myself, but in order to keep everything fine, let's change it to white and mark every channel in our song. Now we'll take down the volume by -6 dB.
King, rapping like Reese in the pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the lead. When I'm hitting with a bill, I'm independent. When I'm in it, gotta finish out the minutes. Who the hell my competition? Started with a vision.
You could see that something bumped up over the 0, so let's just keep it down like -3 or so on the master channel. So we are making sure that nothing really gets over the 0.
King, rapping like Reese in the pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like a...
The second thing I like to do is keeping myself structured. People have workflows that they're mixing while producing. And as you know already, there are no rules in music production. I like to mix a little while I'm producing, so I can get easily inspired by just making some space for other instrument or adding this reverb to make it sound better, just to get inspired a little. But when it comes to being structured, I like to make groups of, for example, drums. So let's take one mixer slot. It can be on 0 dB. It's okay now because everything else is on -6. And mark them all here and right click on the last one and route select it to this track only. Now all our drums will be in this group. You can click Alt and left click. Let's also create group out of them and click X to not change name of anything. Let's call it drum bass, all right? Let's do it for everything. And now every group here, as we have background, is here. Rhythm keepers is here. Miscellaneous is here. So we can like mute that guy like this. And we can also solo them right here. Also Alt with left click. Vocals as well here, and the rest can stay like it is right now. There are a lot of aspects of making the sound full, not only while mixing, but while producing. Actually, most of the choices for great and full sound we take while producing, such as why did we put the rhythm keepers here? Why did we choose to put those crashes here? What's the point of those guys right here? Also upcoming secret sauce in the vocal. All of this we go through in the beginner's course and also the latest hard trap course. Make sure to check those out if you want to step up your production game. So we'll turn off the vocals for now and we'll be putting down the volumes of individual tracks in here. You'll see that it's already quite mixed somehow because here the volumes are already put down, also here in the crashes, because if not that, this sound will be a complete mess. So most of the time we'll be putting down sounds rather than making them louder, right? So let's start doing that. Definitely the vinyl crackle should be just under to make it sound like it's just a vinyl. Not audible, but you can feel it. Okay, definitely the forest rain we did not hear at all, so let's maybe normalize them. And this trap uplift is also way too high. Okay, now we can hear the birds, but they're a little bit too loud, so let's take them down as well. And let's make the declicking mode to crossfade, so we can do something like this. Just in the background. Okay, second thing, those China crashes. As you can see, they're already put down a lot, but they will be for the purpose of keeping the background filled. That means we'll need to put them down a lot. Something like this, so we can feel them already. And the cymbal transition also should go way lower. And now I would like it to end quite faster. So let's take the length knob down and we'll increase the out a little bit. Something like this. So we just have a little ambience effect before the drop hits. After that we have this triangle, which is also too high in the volume. We should keep the elements before the first drop especially pretty low, because surely we want to make the biggest impact, as the drop is one of the main elements in our tracks. Those crashes are way too high, while they already were pretty low. Now this wetwood has really big transient in the beginning. That's something that we should definitely avoid. Those big transients that's pretty fun sound by itself, but I will definitely cut the transient and use the generic declicking mode, so it has a little bit fade. The treble also is a little bit offset here, a little bit too loud. This hey chant is also way too audible. It's also a matter of taste, but we'll focus on doing it the best we can. This natural hat is also very, very peaky and loud. But it keeps the momentum going every beat it's hitting. But here, definitely too loud. This cowbell as well is too visible. Again, this really big peak here. Let's not cut it now because it's not at the very first bar with the kick, but we'll just put it down a couple of decibels. So it's just there. This right trap is also quite overwhelming, so we'll put it down. This hat loop is also keeping the momentum, but is a little bit too audible. We need to keep in mind that the vocals will be the main part here, so we need to keep everything quite balanced. That guy is also very, very loud and peaky. You can see how high in the volume this guy goes. We will be able to fix it later when compressing sounds. That means just taking the very high peaks of it, not whole volume. We could also do it with the in knob here, and that's what I usually like to do. The ambience of it is there, but it won't be that present in the mix. Not everything can be equally audible, and we do it with the compression. The more transient the instrument has, the more present it will be in the mix. That's why the highest transients should have only the elements that are the main parts, such as vocals, drums, and main melodies. So this kind of guy, which is a tambourine, which needs to just take the momentum going, we can take down with the in knob here and the volume down. Same with every element here. With this hat, we could take down the in a little bit. Especially this shaker. It has a lot of release here. It's really nice sound, but it's too audible. We need to take it down with the in knob here. This in knob here is very, very cool in FL Studio. I use it a lot. This comes to the compression, but I usually do it before getting into the proper compression. Now we could even turn up a little bit the shaker because we took down all the peak, but the release after it stayed exactly the same. All right, let's hear everything.
Rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the leader. When I hit him with a bill, I'm independent. When I'm in it, gotta finish out a minute. So the hell my...
Now the splash is way too audible. So let's take up this in knob.
Rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the leader. When I hit him with a bill, I'm independent. When I'm in it.
And this right has a little bit too high peak here. I would definitely take the very first one out with the sample start knob.
Rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the leader. When I hit him with a bill, I'm independent. When I'm in it, gotta finish out a minute. So the hell my competition. Started with a business and the people.
Now this vocal should go way higher than it is right now.
these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the leader. When I'm hitting with a bill, I'm independent. When I'm in it, gotta finish out a minute. Shooting how my competition started with
Something like this. And now, of course, the 808 is here the problem. We cannot hear it at all.
Treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for.
Let's go and put it up a little bit.
Treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for.
I like to make small changes with this channel volume knob, and after that using some tools inside of the mixer channel.
Treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem. Treating these rappers like Reese's and Treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a started with a vision and the people wouldn't listen, but I came when it was dead. Started with a vision and the people wouldn't listen, but I came when it was dead and the game has risen.
You can see how audible this wet wood is. It's completely too much, of course. We need to take it down.
Started with a vision and the people wouldn't listen, but I came when it was dead and the game has risen. Pistol whip thrown in a pit.
Alright, something like this.
King, leading the pack of the normal guy. I've been a king, leading the pack of the normal guy.
Just a little bit from the fill.
King, leading the pack of the normal guy. I've been a man since the day I arrived. I never play if I.
And that's already a really good starting point. Now one of the most important parts, drums, of course.
King, treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem.
We can't do too much here because it's already, as you can see, turned up a lot.
King, treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the leader.
-1 dB here is really cool already. Now the main snare should also be way higher. Maybe let's normalize it.
King, treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the leader. When I'm hitting with a bill, I'm independent. When I'm in it, gotta finish out a minute.
You can hear that this open hat doesn't finish playing after the note played, so we need to go here and check the envelope and take everything down besides the hold.
King, treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work.
Can actually turn up every drum here, a couple of dBs.
King, treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the leader. When I'm hitting with a
Master channel is still here at -3, that's best, so we are free to put up the drums. The current channel is a pretty interesting one. You can monitor how loud it is depending on what channel you have marked here. So the drum bass is here. If we change it to just the kick, now the current channel here shows that kick is, for example, -6. Alright. Alright, this clap ding has a little bit too long release. Just a little. So let's increase the out. And maybe the volume a little bit as well. As you can hear, the drums sounds really good already by themselves, and that's because of the sample selection. Every sample here comes from the best trap sample pack that we made recently from our favorite samples that sound the best as they can by themselves already. You got it with the full FL Studio bundle. If not, check out the link in the course downloads. Alright, let's hear it once again from the beginning.
King, treating these rappers like Reese's and Pieces. I've been a problem since I was a fetus. Earning my stripes like I work for Adidas. And leading my league, better follow the leader. When I'm hitting with a bill, I'm independent. When I'm in it, gotta finish out a minute. Shooting how my competition. Started with a vision and the people wouldn't listen, but I came when it was dead and the game has risen. Pistol whip thrown in a pit, rap pit bull, pit stop, #1 pick, no pen. Game is official, Angelica pickle. I bully get the pit nickel. When I go, when it's slow, can keep up. They don't really know that I'm off the meter. Beating any beat up, yeah, the game need us. King, leading the pack of the normal guy. I've been a man since the day I arrived. vibe. I never play if I truth and the lies. You wanna with me, go over your rights. He with a mission, here in the scene. I go and upload, they say they knew me. I'm new king, do it all as a routine. This is the sound that I made with a team. Switch up, never go for fame. I grew up in the city of rain. It was hard at night with the summer.
Alright, it sounds way better than what we started with. As you can hear, simply adjusting the volume right can totally change the way the track sounds. Of course, it's about 30% of the full potential, but as with working out, the first 30% is the trigger to everything else.